Hello, I'm Heather Meyer. Welcome to Godot Community for High School Visual Art 3D. In the last episode, I shared some reflection responses from students as a year-end activity, and though I feel that these reflections are a valuable way for students to think about their own learning, they are also a really great way for me to determine how effective my teaching is. And that can mean looking at both successes and failures and adjusting as needed. Other year-end activities I typically perform are purging. This was particularly important for me this year as I feel that I've been holding on to a lot of junk that has accrued over the course of the pandemic. The purging can be both a physical and a mental exercise, just like the junk can be physical and mental. Like so many art teachers, I have a hard time letting go of or saying no to supplies and materials, both traditional and non-traditional. I think as someone who is concerned with not wanting to waste anything or not, if I have to be concerned about stretching a budget, etc., it is easy to collect so much stuff, especially non-traditional materials that we can imagine repurposing in so many ways. I think particularly in terms of sculpture, since we're 3D artists. I mean, it's true of 2D teachers as well, but that collection of non-art specific materials can really pile up and take up much needed room. As far as art rooms go, I can't really complain about my space relative to some. However, I don't have a ton of storage, and I've found that these random collections of objects were creating a sense of chaos and certainly disorganization. So I took the approach that a lot of people use for clothing, which is if you haven't worn it for 2 or more years, get rid of it. Now, having said that, I didn't part with everything that I haven't used for 2 or more years because there have been a lot of things that we have not been able to do because of the pandemic that I will eventually probably get back to and utilize. However, I pared down a lot of things in the collection. So, if I had 50 cardboard tubes, did I really need 50? So maybe I cut down that number a little bit. But I found that this paring down and organizing of what I have made my teaching space more usable and made me feel less stressed. So as the year was winding down, I took those bits of time that I had to go into my storage spaces and really start thinking about what kind of room I wanted my students to walk into on a daily basis and what kind of space I wanted to walk into on a daily basis to sort of set the tone of how I wanted my classroom to run. I also got rid of a lot of artwork, some left over from the shutdown or made during hybrid instruction, which was difficult because I felt that if a virtual student dropped work off to be fired, that it must be important to them, so I better hold on to it. But realistically, if I have artwork from 2 years ago, maybe not so, or even a year ago, maybe not so important to the student. So I probably am just projecting or inflating my sense of importance on their work, or the importance that they place on their work. Another thing that I really purged a lot of were samples and student exemplars. I am a super proponent of using student work as a teaching tool, and I also am a super proponent of making a sample, and I typically will make, even if I've made 1,000 coil vases, I will make one with my students as they are working so they can see it in process and see the different stages as I go. Sort of, I like that. I know some people would say you could do that on video just as successfully. And if that's how you do it, that's fine. I like to actually have the physical object that I'm making But what does that mean? That means I have a billion coil vases. How many student exemplars do I need as a teaching tool? I, again, probably project a little bit more importance on them than I should. But freeing up and organizing that space, as mentioned, really helps with mental clarity. I think a specific mental purge can be useful in moving forward as an art educator. Excuse me. I said earlier that part of reflection is considering both successes and failures. We are not perfect beings, and it can be easy to dwell on what we did wrong, projects that went awry, self-doubt that prevented us from taking risks due to fear of failure. And this is a tough one. We all have students that we just can't always reach. Expectations for teachers continually increase and often include aspects that we don't always feel equipped or have adequate support to deliver. For most of us, we additionally place high expectations on ourselves as well, and when we don't meet them, we carry it with us. This is when we need to acknowledge what, if anything, we could have done better, understand that we do our best and we'll keep trying, and let it go and move forward. If we aren't able to move forward, our jobs may start to affect our personal lives and prevent us from being able to reset and reboot over the summer, which leads us to self-care. Depending on your situation, you may find that you have to take on additional work over the summer, or you have to do training over the summer, or you have family obligations, etc., that don't make summer vacation seem much like a vacation at all. If that's the case, I hope you are still able to take the necessary time to enjoy your life. For some of us, that could be getting into the studio and making, something other than a sample. For others, it might mean tending a garden, hiking, training for a marathon, or laying by the pool every day, traveling the globe. Whatever the activity or lack of activity, I challenge you to take time for yourself in any way, any snippets that you can. And that leads us to preparing for next year. Everything I've talked about so far is all in preparation for next year. Making your classroom space functional and organized is a great way to purge, but it's a great way to set yourself up for that new school year. Coming into a space, walking into your building and into your room that first day and walking into a space that's already ready for new students will set your course. Making sure that you're not holding on to that baggage will allow you to take steps to challenge yourself, to do your best, but to understand that you're not perfect. Taking time to enjoy your life over the summer will stave off some of that burnout that some of us might feel even at the end of the summer if we don't allow ourselves a hiatus from work. The next slide, you will hear thoughts from Maria Haslett, one of the most effective and reflective art teachers I know. She has managed to strike a successful work-life balance, including raising a family, success as a studio artist, and as a vigorous advocate for the arts. Again, though, before I go, I challenge each of you to take this summer to take care of yourselves in whatever form that takes. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Maria Haslett, and I just wanted to share a few ideas that I have had and things that I found that have worked well for me for the end of the year. The end of the year is a really special time, and of course, it is very hectic, and you're trying to finish out with testing, you're trying to finish out with projects. A lot of times there's a long to-do list, and kids are kind of in and out, and so that part makes it a little bit of an awkward time sometimes. But it is really good if you can take the time and have the time to make a particular unit where the students will go through each of their projects and do a reflection on each one. I've been doing this in Google Slides for the last several years, and I do it now from the beginning level through AP. And I found this to be really, really helpful. It not only gives them a chance to reflect on each of the pieces and kind of see how they have improved, They also take some time to look at some of their art journals and really kind of reflect on how they've grown with their art journals. But it gives them a digital portfolio, which can be very helpful if they're planning on applying for any summer programs or any scholarships in the future, and can build up that process over the years. And many of them will build up all 4 years of portfolios where they really can have a strong breadth of work available to them digitally. And so that's one thing that I found to be really, really helpful. In addition to that, as you're cleaning and as you're reorganizing and you're going through bins, I always keep a notebook handy to write down ideas for organizing. And I always ask myself, how can I simplify whatever process I'm trying to do, whether that's how kids turn work in or how they store work, how they store supplies, what supplies they use for a particular project. And I think about like how can we kind of fine tune things and simplify. And that is always an adjustment. That is not something that you figure out once and then you stick with it for the rest of your career. It is something that is going to be fluid throughout. The other thing that I think about too is what do I need personally? Do I need to be able to have the stamina and the energy to do this job? A lot of that usually comes back to the same things over and over again. I need to take care of my health. I need to take care of what I eat, how I exercise, how much sleep I get, things like that, and then also encouraging to find time to work on your own personal work. That number one thing is really something that can make a huge difference in how you interact with your kids. It keeps you kind of with your foot in your artistic practice. I can't emphasize that enough. And even like making choices of what movies to watch and what to read, the more that you can kind of bring in something that is going to support your artistic practice, that is something that I would highly recommend to do in the summer as well as throughout the school year. And then, the plans will come. A lot of times when you look at your plans, you see what works. Hold on to the things that work well and just build off of them. Don't feel like you have to reinvent the wheel every year. It's always good to look, reflect, and adjust as things are needed, but at the same time, you don't have to start things completely fresh at the beginning of the next year, so that takes some pressure off. So build on what you've already done and take care of yourself, keep your artistic practice up, and give those kids a nice digital portfolio. So those are my quick suggestions for the end of the school year activities. Have a great summer, have a great next to the school year, and hope to see you soon. Thanks a lot.